which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Shane, will you open us in a word of prayer, sir?
Heavenly Father, God, we come to you tonight. We thank you for, Lord, these that are here. We thank you for, Lord, their service to our town. Lord, we thank you for, Lord, all that you have blessed us with. We ask that, God, you would just give us wisdom tonight as we look into the business of our town. Continue to guide and direct. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I'll call this meeting to order, and we'll start with a roll call.
Vice Mayor Williams.
Present.
Councilwoman Bates. Absent. Councilman Honeycutt.
Here.
Councilman Robinson.
Here.
Councilman Smith.
Thank you, sir. Line item number 5, public comments. Is there anyone here from the public wanting to speak on the agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move along to consideration of minutes. Before you have the public hearing minutes from February 12th and also the council meeting minutes from February 12th. Or you guys had time to look through those. I believe they were all correct. Didn't see anything that stuck out. Is there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, they'll be approved as written. Next, line item number 7, police report. Chief Hunt.
Last couple months been busier than usual, but other than that, it's all right.
Have any questions for the chief? Hearing none, Chief Lefevre in the fire report.
We have started our next class. It started last month. It's on the 12th. Started out with 7. We're down to 4. It's going good. I think that's all I have.
Any questions for Chief Lefevre? All right, we'll move along to line item 9 and 10. The financial statements are before you and the city recorder report. Michael, is there any questions over the financials? Anytime you guys have a question over this, don't hesitate to give us a call or swing by and ask those questions. Michael, do you have anything for the city recorder report?
The only thing I was gonna say is budget workshop. I don't know if you're gonna do it or me, but it's that time of year. Y'all just be thinking about if you wanna have one and when, whatever works for everybody.
We'll need to read in June on the first, no, we'll need to read in May for the first time and then approve the budget in June for the upcoming July fiscal year. So if y'all want to remember that and let us know. Also, while we're talking about that, we also need to make a decision on healthcare if we're not going to do something or we're not going to do something also on that. I don't know if you guys have had time to review that. On our end, it looks pretty good, but, you know, I wanted everybody else to peek at it and, you know, make sure that we do the right things per the employees and the town both, so.
The only thing I've heard is we got some employees that are still looking at the drug coverages to make sure they're gonna be covered like they are now, but other than that, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, and most of the ones that's talked to me said that, you know, everything was fine. There was just a couple things here and there, but the lower co-pays and deductibles would offset that.
When does that decision need to be?
There's no time limit on it. Of course, it'd be nice to budget for it, but even if the current budget, we're still we'll retain that money, but
If we go out too far, they'll probably have to
Change the
refigure
rates.
with the rates and stuff, so just keep that in mind.
and it's 2 months. What we gotta give the state of Tennessee, correct?
Yeah.
We gotta give them a
60 days.
2-month notice. So, I mean, it's not something gotta be decided tomorrow, but if we're gonna make the decision, you know, or if not, we'll cross it off the list, move on to the next thing.
As soon as we have something from the employees that go ahead, we can get decided. I mean, if it's something that that's gonna benefit them.
Next month is a busy meeting night. We have a beer board, a public hearing, which those don't take long. I mean, if y'all wanted to come in earlier before those meetings and do a budget workshop and then us make a decision that night on healthcare, we could do that, but it would probably be 5-ish.
Billboard starts at 5:45.
Yeah, so that'd give us 45 minutes if we started, which usually the first budget workshop, it's not gonna take too long. We'll kind of outline what we want to do. I don't see it changing a whole lot other than some wants and needs. But I don't think anything's gonna be just, something we've got to sit down and hammer down at the first meeting, so.
Mayor, let me throw something out there right now, because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to be here for the next month's meeting because of work schedule. But this concerns you. I want the council probably to look at your salary. And we need to do that before your election comes up in November. So I want the council members to start thinking about this, and maybe we need to look at increasing his salary,
The mayor's salary.
the mayor's salary, yes.
Alderman also?
I don't know about that, I know, I've been on the council since, my first term was 1996, and it was $25 an acre, and here we are 25 years later, or plus, no, a little bit more than that. So it's been the same thing, so, to me, it's an honor to serve with the residents. I'm not in it for the money, but you are, you definitely are, because it's a full-time job. So, the mayor needs to be paid for a full-time salary, in my opinion. Now, council members, if whatever you want to do, let's be thinking about this in our budget. So I want to throw that out there so we can be pondering on it. And like I said, I don't know if I'm going to be here for the next meeting because of being out of state, but I just want to let y'all be thinking about that.
As far as, Joe, you're new on this, the mayor or alderman's salary cannot be raised during term. So it has to be set before for the next 4 years until the next. So that's what he's referring to. It can only,
Is there like any information like in the state of Tennessee, like what the average mayor's salary is per tank, like size population?
I'll tell you, a lot of towns are different. A lot of towns are part-time. You take City of Smithville, something as big as the City of Smithville, they've got a part-time mayor there.
Really? South
South Carthage does. Of course, the town of Carthage has a full-time mayor. I think town of Baxter does, part-time Watertown. So it's kind of hard to, we can get some numbers. But I will tell you, it's all over the board, on that, but I don't mind to try to gather some information, for that.
How long has it
I
been
appreciate
since that salary's been adjusted?
It was adjusted before I come into office, this council voted on it to raise that salary. And I think bonuses and everything, it was about 38,000 from the previous mayor up to 42,000 is what my current salary is at this time.
42? Ain't much. Ain't much for get a wife, get 1 or 2 kids at home?
Well,
Both of them gone?
one,
At the time.
depends on what day it is.
And that's, that ain't very much,
Well,
today's money.
And when we're comparing cities, and I know that's a valid request.
Yeah.
Problem is, it's not just a city and size. We have an interstate that cuts through. We have a whole lot of different dynamics that Gordonsville has that many other cities that is in our population does not have, which increases the amount of police calls, the amount of fire calls. All of that does not take into effect when we look at a water tank. They don't have I-40 running through the middle of it. But
We try to stay closer toward Baxter because they're a little more geared toward what we've got, and I
What
think
about Monterey?
we could look into that and see. I don't know if we've ever done anything on Monterey and looked at that or not. I'm not sure.
I think we need to have a
comparison.
Yeah, some sort of comparison to see, because it's probably not a $150,000 a year job that, whatever amount Juliet might pay, but it's more important.
Well, for whoever is the mayor during the next term, you need to take into account that, you're only available to raise that salary once for 4 years. And like I said, I'm sitting in this chair now, but I've always been, when I was sitting on the council, if the employees get a raise, and we attempted that, and it didn't work out the way that we wanted it to go, that the mayor should get a raise also. So I think Attorney Winkler's kind of looked into some different options
We
there.
have, but it's actually state constitution that kinks us up on that a little bit, so, but yes, you are funding the position for the next term.
Yeah,
How
I mean,
you
I
have to
wouldn't
look at it.
think 42,000, I wouldn't think that's probably the average salary across Tennessee for one person, is it? One person be more than 42,000? I would think so. I think it'd be closer to 50, but, I think the mayor at least should make the average salary of what
Yeah.
the average Tennessean makes.
Alrighty, y'all want to set that for 5 o'clock? I know you said you wouldn't be here.
Yeah, it's on the 8th, yes, it was.
We'll do a budget workshop on the 8th. That's Joel's right.
That may not be, this may not be the time to ask that, but when those times happen, is there anything legally that says if there is, I mean, we did it through COVID, and we had meetings, even if it meant that we had to be remote. Is there anything that says he's not allowed to vote? If he's out of town, we have him somehow set up where he can see here and witness what's going on. I mean, with his position, and who's to say, I'm not going to?
He could certainly attend a workshop,
Okay.
as opposed, and if he wanted to do the workshop, that wouldn't be a problem. What I'd have to look into is his ability to vote at the meeting.
Okay.
I just have to see. There were, during COVID, there were special provisions for remote attendance.
Right.
I don't think there would be an issue at all with him attending a workshop, because nothing, it's just that. So you could certainly do that.
Check on
I will.
that, I appreciate that.
I would. But he can certainly do the workshop remotely.
And I mean, I'm saying that just because you mentioned not being here next month, but there may be a time I could be out somewhere. I mean, any of us could be, and
There are, certain bodies allow that, school board allows that, but there's a specific policy they adopted for it, so just let me look. But
Any other discussions on that? If not, we'll move along to new business. Pardon me, just 1 minute, I'm writing down some notes. All right, new business, ordinance number 2024-0311. This is an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of Gordonsville, Tennessee. Said amendment rezones 14.5 acres of property located on Rogers Road from M1 Residential Commercial District to I1 Light Industrial. This was looked at, and I think you had this out in your packets. This is up on Rogers Road, right before you get to Rogers Group, their main maintenance building there. This was looked at the Planning Commission and unanimously passed to move on to this body. This ordinance will take 2 readings and a public hearing. What they're doing with this is an individual has purchased this property. It used to be part of the Baker property, Dixon property, and they're looking at putting a concrete plant there. Very well-established business that currently owns a concrete business, and they are looking at rezoning this, and we found nothing that, don't have anything but good things to say about it as far as the Planning Commission stands. I would entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance first reading.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on this ordinance? Any questions? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call.
Vice Mayor Williams.
Yes.
Councilman Bates is absent. Councilman Honeycutt.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you on that. We will have a public hearing and a second reading in April. Move along to the next line item is consideration of land purchase. It goes back to another part of this Baker property. If you'll go up Bentley Harris Way, it dead ends there into 2 factories. And Josh Dixon has bought that section of the Baker property and is looking to extend Bentley Harris Way up to join the Baker property there, the Dixon property. It's about 100 foot right up through there. Well, we've been dealing with Taiho Manufacturing, and that is a Japanese company, and they have agreed that they would sell us that piece of property. The purchase price is $30,000. Us and Josh have agreed to let Jamie handle the legal work on it, and Josh Dixon will be reimbursing us that amount of money and whatever legal fees is involved with it.
And it's just to extend Bentley Harris Way for a road.
Yes, it's about 8/10 of an acre. I think it was in your packets. I didn't bring any visuals with me, but the Japanese company didn't want to sell it to an individual, thought it would be better to sell it to the city and go that route with
You
it.
like it?
It's 0.83 acres. It's just a purchase. We're not getting an easement or a right of way. It is a pure purchase. I have an agreement, I have a deed for the purchase, and then I have an agreement that Mr. Dixon and the mayor would sign that would say he reimburses the purchase price and brings it up to code, and then it becomes a dedicated city street after that.
So we're not putting nothing else into it, we're just negotiating the transaction.
Yes, sir. The town is facilitating the transaction to get a new road, a part of a new road.
There's a sewer access there also, which they'd be cut off if they didn't have this strip of land here. So they did make it big enough to cover that sewer, where it'd be gravity fed sewer also.
There's been a survey, there's a good description, shouldn't be an issue with what it is. Tahoe, their representative would simply just sign a deed, have a closing, and then we would the town would be reimbursed for the purchase price. The town would have to pay initially, and then be reimbursed.
That's just
all being done one day.
Probably, one day or two, I mean,
It's still,
I'd probably want the deed recorded and all that before we got reimbursed.
still city property, even after.
Yes, absolutely. Mr. Dixon will not get a deed, but he is required to build the road, bring it to specs, and dedicate it back. And the town's got to accept it as a dedicated public road.
And what's the penalty if, what's in the contract if he doesn't come up with the $30,000 or can't get it up to code or fails on his end of the bargain?
The town would sue it.
Okay. Well, I mean, you won't have nothing to get at that point, so,
Right.
I'm just curious I have a lot of customers tell me they'll pay me in 30 days and it's still.
No, we would do a closing, like Mr. Williams said, we would do a closing and probably have Mr. Dixon to be just a part of the closing and do it immediately. Escrow his money right away. So that would be contingent on closing.
He's been trying to get this done for a while since he purchased the property, and we finally just broke through. We let Mr. Pat Geho, head of the industrial board, kind of head this up for us. So he was a big player of getting Taiho here as a company, so it's a pretty good relationship. So, and I think Mr. Dixon has some prospects of some industrial companies looking if he can get this done. So,
What was the primary reason the manufacturer didn't want to sell to a private individual?
competing for jobs.
Okay.
And they said that, you know, the county and the city has always been good to them and they want to return that, but they really didn't want to compete for jobs, so.
It's kind of true. Okay.
Would we need that in a motion?
Yes.
Just, okay,
And then,
then we'll move on to the next one.
yes, if you'll probably want to do your budget amendment first and then move to spend the money.
With purchasing this property, it's $30,000 and we figure it's gonna be probably less than $5,000 on the legal side of it, so we were.
I'm sure you will be.
We were a
No
little
issue.
conservative on that, so we just put in $35,000 just to cover whatever costs that there may be. We just wanted to have it on the up and up and make sure that, you know, we was transparent with all information. So with that, I would request a budget amendment, ordinance number 202403-11. Entertain that in a motion form.
So move on the budget amendment.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll roll call.
Vice Mayor Williams.
Yes.
Councilman Bates is absent. Councilman Honeycutt.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Alrighty, and then we'll move back to the consideration of the land purchase. I would entertain a motion on that.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we will roll call on the consideration of the land purchase.
Vice Mayor Williams.
Yes.
Councilman Bates is absent. Councilwoman Honeycutt.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Alrighty, thank you guys for that. I know it's a little confusing, it was to us also. As far as the date for budget workshop, we've got that set for the 8th at 5 o'clock. It's like I say, it shouldn't be too long. Chief LaFever, Chief Hunt, that means we gotta get to work, and Michael, start crunching some numbers.
I'm already halfway done.
One thing in new business that I did want to bring up, we've had some confusion. I've been here close to 15 years now. We've had confusion over food trucks, peddlers, solicitors, vendors. We are going to try to sit down and hash that out and make it fair for everybody. I enjoy food trucks, but also it takes away from our brick and mortars that have taken the money and invested into our town, that pay taxes and, sales tax and property tax. So I think that's something as a town and as a mayor that we need to try to protect, not saying that we don't want food trucks, but we have to be, kind of the way it looks now is if they have an established business in another town, they don't have to pay for a permit. We've been kind of researching this over the last couple of days, and I don't know that that's quite fair for the businesses that took a gamble and invested their money into our city. Not saying I don't make the laws, so therefore I'm leaning on you guys to help us rewrite this ordinance and figure it out. I know it's been a lot of things up in the air, and we really don't know when they come in the front door, because we've got an ordinance that says one thing, and then we've got the state and the state TCA code that says another. And it would be helpful to the office staff if we knew when they walk through the door, we hand them one piece of paper and then they check a box and it says, well, this is what you owe, or this is what you don't owe. You know, so this is something I want us to look into. So if y'all want to do some reading, I will say that I've kind of picked through Lebanon cities permit. It looks good. Of course, they're all over the board. You can look at Smithville's, Gallatin's, Cookville's, McMinnville's. They're all different. Might be $5 here, might be $100 for a year, might be $50 for 2 weeks, which is what we usually charge. So, I mean, that's another thing. You know, the town of Lebanon really has a pretty good one, which kind of matches ours right now. But we need to move on this pretty quick, far as the next month or two. So,
We charge 50 for 2 weeks now.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Like, what does that incur? Like, can they just put it anywhere? Like, it don't always on private property? Like, I don't know how that works. Like, sometimes they're set up, you see people set up at Key, or across the Key stop, you see them at McDonald's, you just see them at random.
And that's where something I think we might need to outline, because I read a lot of different towns and cities that have a district or a spot, but now a lot of that you see down beside McDonald's, we don't own that property. That's state property, so I don't know how we would go about attorney at Winkler. I mean, we just have to hash it out.
You have
I
to
mean,
hash it out. You can't prohibit them if it's not your property, but.
How's traffic flow down there around it?
Terrible.
Terrible, I mean. Does it cause any problems right there with his food truck that he's got, or what do you call that, food truck?
Well, it's just going all kind of food there, and if it's something real, if you have a lot of people stopping there, yes, it will be easier than just a cluster right there, but, I mean, they're just in and out right now. So, but, I mean, if there are a bunch of, volume of traffic that stops in there, yeah, I mean, it will be a,
well, I know today Michael said someone come in from a food truck wanting to set up down there, and we give them a permit. So
Gave them
I'm
the paperwork,
afraid.
they haven't turned it in
Okay,
yet. so.
okay.
now, if you get 2 or 3 down there,
That's what I'm getting at.
very
Is,
well possibly could be an issue.
and it's bad enough down there as it is, much less. But I don't know. That's something that we would need to regulate in our ordinance.
Well, you can pull out anywhere right there, and there's 2 driveways up there at McDonald's and one across it. market there, and then it just keeps on and on, so everybody pulled out at the same time. It's-
That's why I asked.
There's not a lot of real estate there for as many people.
And they can set up anywhere that they want to, as long as they have permission from the property owner.
Now, does a food truck have to have a sewage drop?
Not by us, no.
Okay.
But the food truck, all that stuff is regulated by the health department. They have to have all that, a lot more than we would ever police,
So
so.
their kitchen sink water.
Yeah, even Mr. Bill that does the kettle corn, she got a hold of him and that's why he was absent for so long, because he had to get all of his stuff up to date to satisfy the health department.
And I know
Yeah.
they have to do something with fire. Do you know anything about that,
I
Daniel?
was trying to pass that this year, I don't know if they passed.
I know I've done some
It
reading.
all falls on the health department.
But I want to be very careful to let the state do their part and us, because I don't know that we've got the manpower to go out there every time one pulls up and start with a checklist and say, do you have this? You know, if we can capture that at the window, you know, I don't know that we want to go out there and start inspecting stuff as a
I
city.
don't think you have the ability to.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, but you gotta have a state permit, and the state code is gonna be right on that truck before it's allowed to set up there.
But
In a food truck or food trailer.
the town's concern is just the operation of the business within its city limits and the permit for that. I
But on
think
state property, they just set up, anywhere, it's just state property, like it's no trade, like,
Until somebody comes by and says leave.
until somebody comes out, or it presents a law enforcement problem, or,
oh, I just thought the state, but it's in all of our properties private, I would have thought.
And that's probably true, but I mean, I'm sure they don't have many people out policing it that much, so.
Well, yeah, people go around to flower shops to see if they pay their $50 for their plant, identification.
So even if someone sets up in the town limits on private property, they still have to have a food truck permit.
well, it depends. If they're a bona fide merchant is the debate, or a transient vendor, and whether they fit the definition. And it seems that the definition, as far as we can tell thus far, is whether they have a permanent foundation place of business somewhere else.
And if they do, that's where their business license is tied to as well, so they don't have to have that here either.
That's correct.
So nothing.
So we're actually gaining nothing.
They just pay $50 for 2 weeks.
They don't pay that.
If they have a bona fide, if they have a
If they're
brick
bona
and
fide
mortar.
merchant, that doesn't apply.
The only way they pay the 50 is if they're a food truck and that's it. And they just roam around and that is their
So,
own.
okay.
Yeah.
And people got a area set up for
Yes.
food trucks and
Yes.
vendors. I didn't know how their stuff was mapped out or not, I mean, I figured they might know.
Yeah, they have an area, I've looked at theirs is $250 for the year. And of course, they've got people that go out and check that regularly. But still, this body, and I think my seat, is here to protect who's made the investment here. Not that I'm against food trucks whatsoever, but we have some restaurants here that have made the investment in our town, that pay sales tax in our town, that we need to consider when we look at this ordinance.
Also, I have another question. Does this apply to everything, like not just food trucks, but like say somebody that pulls up the interstate and starts selling ferns there at the interstate, they should all go?
Right, if we can catch them. The only thing, now with the ferns, I think falls under agriculture, if they grow it here, which most don't.
You're supposed to have a permit, like you gotta pay that $100 for the guy that comes by every 3 months and looks at my same piece of paper.
Yeah, I think that would fall under, but like I say, the police, they police that fairly well, so we try to make everybody pay that has to pay, just to protect,
Yeah.
you know, businesses in our community. Now, one thing I would add to that, and don't let me forget it, and I've got it wrote down, is, you know, charitable events. The school, there's, you know, Helen's food truck comes down and she does, you know, a lot of fundraising for the school. So we need to look at that. Our Gordonsville Halloween events, you know, we have food trucks there. So that's something we would want to put an exception in if we
I think there
can.
is a clause in the peddler license code for charitable organizations. Yeah,
Okay.
I believe.
And it also applies to people going door to door.
Yeah.
Like not just setting up, but if nobody does that much anymore, but if you're doing door to door type sales, it applies.
Yeah, that's the peddler's part.
So we'll get some stuff together, and Attorney Winkler, if you can, you know, kind of get together some stuff, and we'll get, and like I say, just one night you're sitting there not doing nothing, get off TikTok and look up some other towns and cities and look up, most of them's online, and you know, we can kind of compare, we can get you some copies of what we got here. We just need clarification for the office staff, because it's confusing, and I don't really like going down to these food trucks and trying to collect $50 or, you know, trying to figure, you know, we need to get them all, knowing that when they come here in this town, they have to come to City Hall first, so. All right, does anybody else have any other new business?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Does the city have anything in place currently or reached out to different grocery stores or anything that would entice a grocery store to come in here?
I've met with several people in the grocery business. There has been one development, and it's in its very early stages. They've not even purchased the property yet, but they're pretty close. But it's in their development is an available grocery store space. Now, that's not saying that they, you know,
Yeah.
but I know that that development group has talked with some grocery people. I've met with a few people from local towns here close by us and drove around town multiple times, showed them some properties, met with some property owners. Most of the problem they run into right now is the available property in the location that they want.
I didn't know, we sell to a few different grocery stores, like small chains or like independent. And lady was asking me that we were just talking about the towns and whatnot. They were in Dayton. They own one in Dayton and they also own one in like Pikeville. And she was saying that you call the whole, like a town that doesn't, said you call the wholesale distributor that's in Nashville and one in Huntsville. She said they would send somebody out here that would do like a traffic count to see what it was, and said they have a list of wholesaler or people that already own grocery stores that were looking to expand into different areas. But they said they also usually want some sort of incentive by the city to come in. So I didn't know if there was something already in place by the city to try to help bring something in or not.
Not other than just basically cold calling and meeting up with people. I have talked with Upper Cumberland Development District, and as far as grants, trying to get some people some grants that, you know, would do a startup. Most of it is we don't qualify, we're not rural enough. People in Gordonsville make too much money to qualify for a lot of that stuff. So we've beat the bushes on that as far as USDA grants. Really not seeing anything out there as far as incentives. Now, if somebody come to this body, I think that, you know, that might be something that we could entertain with looking at it. I don't know what kind of incentives we could give them, but
if I reached out and talked to like different distributors to see, would that be appropriate? I don't know, being
Sure,
a council person.
sure,
Okay.
sure. Like I said, the most of them I've talked to have run into where they want to be, and there's no available land there for sale. But yeah, by all means, you know, let us know if you need any help doing anything. We sure like to have one.
Okay, I didn't know. I mean, I just know everybody asks about it all the time, but I didn't know where to look. And I was just talking to this lady the other day, because she had a couple and was telling me just some different things about the grocery business. And said like they had different plans, like for your different car counts. They had different plans of what they would want to set you up for. And telling us we should try to avoid a cost plus at all. She said everything's ripped off before they, according to her anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Any other new business? We've got the insurance vendor on the old business. We've addressed that tonight. Is there any old business? All right, there is no audit committee tonight. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Somebody do.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, can hang around for a little while. Meeting adjourned.